Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to take a look at how the US E-minis unfolded yesterday, which was Tuesday the 9th of February. Let's start by looking at the ES. ES was very quiet with no automatic setups at all, so if you're following the ES it was a very quiet day. But let's have a look at the large degree trend. Remember, we don't use our STF color-coded indicator. We like to have an indicator that's leading, in other words have areas on our chart in advance. So for this we go to our higher time frame chart. This is the multi-time frame analysis I've been looking at in a number of recent videos. So let's have a look at what the picture would have been here. As you can see, the low of the previous day, which was the 8th of Feb, came in right at the DP from the previous pivot. So this previous pivot extended out and made a DP support there. You can see we actually had an automatic DP buy setup as well. So support was coming in there. Where did it go? Well, it went beyond the DP here from the previous pivot here, but then started to retrace back down. So the picture wasn't particularly clear. If anything, now we look at the Elliott waves. This was a five-wave sequence down. So if anything, once we've gone beyond this DP, we might well see a rally back up into the DP from here, but that's obviously a very long way away. But initially, this picture isn't particularly clear. If we had two consecutive closes above this DP, we might well have had a better picture. Slightly clearer after this TS1 buy setup came in, but obviously now this TS4 sell again might well turn the trend down. But for the beginning of yesterday and during yesterday, can you see the ES wasn't particularly clear? Let's have a look at the NQ. Some nice trade setups on the NQ. You can see we had some very nice trade setups. I'll have a look at this low here a bit later in the video. But first, again, I want to go to the higher time frame chart. Similar position to the ES, where we had a support from that DP on the previous day, making the nailing the low of the 8th of February. This time, if I go to the pivot here, can you see we did have two consecutive closes? We actually had three consecutive closes here beyond this DP, so that turned the large degree trend up, and as such you'll be looking for long trades. You may well have looked at this and said, well, hang on, the trend has now changed again because it's gone back below that DP there until after that TS1 buy setup. So again, that picture may not have been quite as clear as you'd have liked. Let's have a look at the YM. Remember, we always like to see the clearest and cleanest picture. Let's go to the 15-minute chart. Now for this, I was still working off a DP support back from here. Why? Because we had a five-wave sequence going up into the high that we were looking at about 2 or 3 videos ago. So I said if that market went beyond the DP from the prior wave 4, which is here, in other words, went down below that, it was likely to go down to the DP from the start of the sequence, which is back here. So we've had this DP support on for a while as an area where the market was likely to make a low. And as you can see, it basically double bottomed on the 8th, which was the previous day, quite nicely and found support there. So that gave an indication that the large group trend was up, quite clearly up off the support. If you had have gone back to this little this little pivot here and placed the DP, now the picture was a lot clearer, because the market had spent a lot of time above this DP here, and therefore confirming the large degree trend to be quite clearly up. It did come back down here just for two points, for two closes back here, which was basically the close of 1:30. So let's see what happened before 1:30, where the large degree trend was clearly up. Can you see that? Clearly beyond those that DP support. Let's go down to the 3-minute chart, and lo and behold, we had a TS4 buy setup here. Remember, large degree trend was up. There's our 15-minute support, was up, so you'd be looking for buy setups. Were there any buy setups earlier? No, the market was moving sideways, going up and down, until suddenly at 13:21, remember that's before 1:30, so that's before the market had made two consecutive closes back down below this, so the large degree trend was still deemed to be up. We had a TS4 buy setup. So let's right mouse click, place the analysis on, and look at that trade, an absolutely fantastic trade. Remember, we use correct position sizing to keep our initial risk small and under control, in this case less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account. It would have took you in long. The market then went up. It went up right into the first target here, at this particular point in time, the STF would have been strong. Can you see that? At that bar there when it hit, the STF was strong. So standard rules would have said to swap to the ATR stop, and that would have been stopped out pretty much in the same place about there. Can you see the dots about there? For an absolute massive 9.5R profit. So a very, very nice and very big profitable trade yesterday. But can you see how I was looking at the markets and looking for the clearest picture? This is what I've been talking about a lot recently, and that we like to trade when the picture's clear and not when it's unclear. And we accept that half the time the market will be unclear, in other words, in a pattern where we don't quite know what's going on. Yesterday was a perfect example. We were doing a training webinar yesterday, and I was saying that early on, when we're doing the webinar between about 10:30, which was here, and 11:30, which is around about here, the picture was quite unclear, and it looked like we were going to have a choppy day. But then suddenly, a bit later in the day, we had this TS4 buy setup come in, clearer picture, a lovely trade set up for a nice 9.5R. If you were looking at the NQ here, particularly on the 5-minute chart, just as that TS1 buy setup came in, there was a TS3 buy on the 5-minute chart, and if I place the analysis on here, that went up to the first target there. STF would have been weak, i.e. less than its strength band, and that would have been an absolutely massive 16R profit, turning initial risk of about $330 into approximately $5,200. So that would have been an absolute massive trade. But I think that would have been a very hard one to justify, because as I said earlier in the video, the large trend wasn't as clear as it was in the YM. So I think the best trade yesterday would have been on the YM, because we were coming off particularly this larger degree 15-minute support here. We'd gone up through that minor 15-minute support resistance there, confirmed the large degree trend as being up, and then came into a lovely TS4 buy setup there that then went straight to the target. STF strong, swapped to the ATR stop, which is our blue dots there, for an absolute massive 9.5R profit. So a good day for MTPredictor yesterday, and a look at how we look at the large degree trend on the higher time frame charts, and in particular why it's important to follow not just the ES or the NQ or even the YM, but to follow all the USE minis, and then take the trade on the clearest picture. The Russell Index was slightly different yesterday, where we didn't have a buy setup coming in at that low there. So the best trade of the day was on the YM, that TS4 buy setup, for a lovely profit there. So hopefully this has been a good example of using MTPredictor on the USE minis, and in particular gauging the large degree trend by using the higher time frame charts and only trading when the picture is clear.